veteran-friendly franchises, and they want you guys into their system. And the reason is, it's because, you know, people with military backgrounds are used to following operational procedures, and they're disciplined, they can take a system and execute and just go for it. And that's what they want. But what I do is I help veterans become franchisees. So we have 610 franchise businesses in our database that we maintain. And like I said, you have to pay into a model, you have to pay into a brand, and that could be very expensive. McDonald's is like 1.3 million to, you know, an online system or a home-based system, which is $3,000 to $5,000. So I maintain a system that gives discounts, significant discounts. Papa John's, for example, will completely waive the franchising fee, and then they will give you like a store credit of $25,000. They'll give you a credit to buy an oven if you need this. They will do their own financing. Anything from that kind of assistance all the way down to reducing royalties, which is you have to pay the franchisor about, normally it's around 5 to 6% of your sales, your gross sales. So in our system to help veterans, we will reduce that for a year, waive it, or a combination of waiving the franchising fee or you know, assistance with equipment, for example. So there's like a ton of different.
We wanted to keep our best speakers for last.
So, you know, I can talk about this for a couple days now. I'd really like you guys to ask me questions, though, because I've been studying this for about a year and a half, and I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship. I don't really like to be an employee, and I want to build an economic model for myself where I don't have to go into the same cubicle or, you know, be in the same routine every day. Instead of, I can kind of manage my own system with being creative as well. And the best way to do this is if when you go into the franchisor, they're going to interview you, they're going to put you through something called the KISS, which is a personality examination, and then they're going to do a very intense evaluation on your financial background. Because they don't want you to be put in their system and you like stand up a store and it goes down. It's going to hurt their brand. And so it's going to be like, oh, a brand that I like is Massage Envy, for example. So if I buy into Massage Envy and I don't do well, the people in those communities are going to remember, oh, those guys went downhill and they were only here for 2 years. I wonder what's going on with them. So that's the franchisor, the brand itself, wants everyone to succeed. And there is a statistic in franchising that roughly 90% of franchisees succeed, but that doesn't mean that they're all happy, or that doesn't mean that they're making good money. I used to think that you can buy into a proven franchise or a proven system, and bam, I'm rich. I don't got to be there. I can just hire a manager, and I'm good. I'm backpacking South America again. That's not the case. And I'm kind of glad that it's not the case, actually, because I want to be in my own store. I want to be involved with my employees. I want to be able to kind of be involved, but not be in a routine.
It's a selective process for success.
It's very selective, yeah. But if it's not, I would walk away. I would honestly walk away, and you'll find that. Yeah, like if you go to if you go to an expo. And an expo is basically a sales pitch, where it's all these brands that have their own table, and they're like, come in here, buy into my franchise, $50,000, you're going to make $200,000 a year in the first 2 years. That's complete BS.
And they don't tell you the overhead was $190,000.
No. I mean, even brands like McDonald's, which is like $1.3 million to buy into, those guys don't make tons of money. They have multiple units. How you make real money in franchising is it's called scaling out. And so what you do is you buy one unit of something, And the key is you have to do very well the first time. If you don't, you kind of get one chance. The reason is because when you buy that one unit that does well, you break even in 9 months, for example, and then everything else is profit. You want to use the value of that business and the customer base and the profits that you're generating, leverage that and buy another one. Buy another one. So you like bought this kind of network, an economic kind of system, so that eventually you can step back and you're like a shareholder. This is brilliant. If you can read the book, The E-Myth, the Entrepreneurship Myth, that tells the story of if you love to bake apple pies, for example, if you love to bake apple pies, and your friends say, you should just go into business, you're the best pie maker ever, right? So you go into business to yourself and you realize you're not baking apple pies anymore and you really just want to bake apple pies. You're doing the accounting, you're doing the sales, you're doing the operations, you're sweeping the floor, you're managing people, and you're trying to manage the tax code. I mean, there's a million things to do in addition to being a pie maker. So that's the E-Myth, is that if you love doing something, do that. If you want to be a good business person, think of business completely aside from what you love to do. That's just my philosophy. So it's going to be a home-based business. So those are normally about $5,000. That's the lowest end, but it's much more. It's a very difficult business to get started because you don't have a physical structure. You just have kind of, like they will do lead generation for you. The franchisor, the guy that has came up with the idea, will feed you sales leads, and then you have to execute. You have to be on the phone a lot when you're a home-based system. But the point is, it's out there. So you know, if you get you know, a $300,000 loan, typically franchises, if you're buying like storefronts, cost about $200,000 to $350,000 to build that store out. And then you have to calculate, when are you going to break even? How much sales do I need to generate in order to pay off that loan? You've got to break this down line by line. And then, after you break even, how much is your profit per week? So I just happen to know, because I'm around this a lot, that a good a good sales for them is around $9,000 per week. I just happen to know that. So in franchising, this is something I'm so glad I learned before I go into this thing, is that this particular guy has 7 units, and 2 units carry all the rest. So some of them are not even doing that well, maybe barely breaking even. The other ones are making, you know, he's making $130,000 in profit for 2, but he has 7. So it's really important to make sure that one of those 2 were your first ones to leverage it more. So what do you think the most difficult thing about franchising is? So it's finding and retaining good employees. And why do you think that is? If you're paying, in a lot of cases, minimum wage, a lot of franchise employees are getting paid minimum wage, or in like Sport Clips, a salon. They're getting paid minimum wage, but they're also getting tips. So these are not, you know, people with PhDs. I mean, these are people that have a trade, and there's about 20% of them that are career, and the other 80% are employees, and they're going to go on to the next thing. So they're not necessarily dedicated to their job. So if I'm the franchisor, if you pay me $50,000, and I'm going to be paying you 5, 6, 7, 8% of my gross sales of that $9,000 per week, it's going to be monthly though. Right. If I'm paying you that, what are you going to give me in return? Right. Most cases, they give you advertising and marketing support. And this is something to think about. So think about how the franchisors makes money, how you make money.